Welcome to the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill, and we have, again, as our co-host, T.S. and Smack.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Having a good time at the retreat, huh?
Yes, loving it here.
This is fun.
It is.
So we have another special episode where we're at the NCHE Board and Liaison Work Retreat, and that'll be a part of what we're doing, right?
Yes, it is. I love you say work retreat because we do a lot of work here.
A lot of work.
A lot of
right.
meetings,
like we
a lot of
explained
planning.
last week. That's
yeah.
right.
So, but it's good. We're in the mountain. It's beautiful, and it's a good time.
So what do we have planned today?
So today we have another great show. We're going to be looking at our homeschool news. And for homeschool news, we're going to talk about the Mom's Fall Retreat. That's coming up in November. And we're also going to be looking at, does homeschooling improve social competencies and creative thinking among children? For Homeschool Conversations, we'll be sitting down with more liaisons and directors, people from our board, to just get to know them a little bit better and to see if they have any advice, any tips for us. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at the Homeschool Tip of the Week. And we'll be sitting down with our development director, Diane Helfrich, and she's going to be challenging us and showing us how to get out of the box of our preconceived educational experiences and our thoughts, and just kind of how to expand upon that.
That's right.
That'll be good.
Great. We're looking forward to talking to Diane.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and start with homeschool news. And a couple of things we're going to start with is the Moms Retreat.
Yes.
And this is the 2022 Fall Fun and Fellowship for Moms. This is November 4th and 5th at Caraway Conference Center in Asheboro, North Carolina. You can go to carawayconferencecenter.com just to learn more about the facilities in the area. So there's going to be a lot of food. Of course, there has to be. Speakers and, fireside chats and s'mores and hiking and giveaways. And this says nursing babies are welcome. Yeah,
this is just a time for moms to just kind of get away, to get together, and just to be refreshed because we spend so much time throughout the year pouring out in our families and our homeschools. We get to be refreshed and have a good time. And yes, nursing babies
You might have to bring one.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm hoping he'll be a couple months old. I'm trying to get my stash up so I can leave him at home. So I can be free for a day. But yes, nursing babies are welcome. So
great.
Be a good time.
If you'd like to sign up for the Moms Retreat, you can go to nche.com/2022-moms-retreat. And it'll give you all the information, the schedule, and what's going to be going on and how to register there.
And also, if you get the weekly email, click on it, and you'll see that it's at the bottom of the email, and it should be until the retreat is over. So you can also just open your email and register there.
That's great. Okay, here's a question. Research question. Does homeschooling improve social competencies among children?
I say yes.
Okay. Well, that's it. So we have an interesting article covering research done by the National Home Education Research Institute. Okay. That's not the organization that did the research. They're reporting. Okay. The research is actually from Israel. Michael Unger Madera and Iris Ben David Hadar. They're from Israel, and they did the research. They probed the social competencies and creative thinking of home-educated children. Now, we covered the creative thinking part of this on a past episode. Okay. So right now we're going to ask the next question about social competencies. So the researchers aim to evaluate the social competencies of homeschooled children. There are two components of social competencies. One is adapted behavior, defined as collection of conceptual, social, and practical abilities that a person has learned in order to function in daily life, as well as communicate with the environment. Abilities included here are self-functioning, daily skills, use of community resources, social intelligence, cognitive competencies that enable an individual to develop mutual relations with others. So that big socialization question that people are always asking. So that's all scientific way of saying getting along with people. Yeah. and being able to function in society. In life. Okay. Yeah. That's right. It's the big socialization question. That's what it is. Okay. That's right. So let's hear the answer. Homeschooled students, here's the answer. All right, here we go. Homeschool students have a higher level of social competencies than students attending public schools. Yeah. So you already knew that. Yeah. Further, the scholars found that the greater number of siblings, the higher the level of social competencies of homeschool students. Yeah. And of course, on the other side, public schools also have a major social disadvantage, including bullying and peer victimization, Research shows that young people who were frequently victimized and bullied as children are liable to use drugs and other substances during adolescence and even to develop mental health issues.
I mean, if you think about that logically, that makes sense.
Sure.
If you're in an environment where you are constantly with a lot of people, different ages,
Yep.
siblings, you're with parents, adults, and you're constantly going from situation from co-op to church to home to this practice, and you're constantly in these different
Right.
social environments with different people where you're going to have to adapt because you have to, versus if you're in one room with the same 20 kids all day, and if 5 of them decide to bully you all year,
That's going to be
then
fun.
that's your
Yeah.
only experience of that whole year.
That's right.
Of life. So yeah, makes sense.
So it's great, though, when we have research that
Yes.
confirms what does make sense to us.
Absolutely.
Because this was a very legitimate process where we're able to see the actual results in
Yeah.
real life. So next we're going to have Homeschool Conversations, and so we're going to go find some more
It's more
people to
I
talk
love doing
to,
this.
right? This will be fun.
Yes.
So let's go find some more board members and liaisons and introduce them to you and let them know, see if they have some advice for us.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. All right, so we are sitting here with Erin Mace, and Erin, you are our new Regional 9 liaison, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what that role does, what that role means for you, and how long you've been doing it.
All right, so I'm pretty new.
Okay.
I just started this year right before the conference, and I'm on the coast. So I have a few counties on the coast of North Carolina, and
Okay.
I'm there to support and encourage and help bring joy into homeschooling.
Awesome. Okay.
So I'm there to support the families in that area.
Awesome. Okay, on the coast, that has to be awesome being able to live on the beach.
It has its perks.
Yeah.
I love being in the mountains though too. So.
Okay, cool. Yes. So now tell us, how long have you been homeschooling? And because I know you're pretty new to homeschooling as well, and just kind of what has that experience been? Quickly, what has that experience been for you?
So this will be, what is it, 3rd year going into it.
Okay.
COVID pushed us over the edge.
Okay.
My oldest daughter was in 1st grade at the time when COVID hit. And that was a very difficult year. That's
Okay.
when they went virtual,
Yeah.
and we went home anyway. So everybody was forced into homeschooling. We had always been considering it anyway, and that just pushed us over the edge. For one, I knew that wasn't working. The virtual
Yeah.
schooling just wasn't working for her, especially in 1st grade. She
Yeah.
struggled greatly. And so the next year they were going back. They were going to continue that. And I said, there's just
There's
no
no
way.
way.
So I said,
Yeah.
okay, Lord, here we go. We're
Yeah.
jumping into it. And we learned through that first year of homeschooling, one, how hard it is. It
Yes.
is difficult, but how much of an advantage it was, especially for Nicole.
Okay.
So people keep saying, are you going to keep doing it? And I'm like, now I said, yes.
Yeah.
I can't imagine her ever going back to public school at this
Absolutely.
point. So it's been a blessing in disguise. A lot of good things I say have come from COVID, and this is one of them, because now I am learning that she needs that one-on-one, and that the curriculum based on her needs.
Yeah.
And so she's able to thrive where before she was kind of being pushed aside and not getting what she needed from school. So it's been a blessing.
So what advice would you give to moms who, like you said, were like you, on the edge, going back and forth, and just an advice to tell them that they can do this? What kind of advice would you give them?
I've always said I would never be a homeschool mom. I couldn't see myself as that. And I still sometimes say it, like, I'm not a homeschool mom, but I can do it. So I'm like, if I can do it, you can do it, and you'll find that there are just more blessings
Yeah.
than the other way around. It's
Okay.
just, there's so many blessings that come from it. And the biggest advice I would give is to not compare. Don't compare to public school, but also don't compare to other families.
Absolutely.
Don't compare your kids to other kids. Each kid and each family is unique, and God has a plan for each kid and each family. So follow Him and look to Him, and not all around you.
I love that. So moms, they can do it, and don't compare.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Erin. We appreciate it, and we are so glad to have you on the board.
Thank you.
And serving the people out on the coast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, we're here with Spencer Mason, And Spencer, why don't you tell us about your current role with NCHE and
Certainly.
if you, at least a few of your former roles?
Okay.
Maybe not all of them.
Yeah. Well, Debbie and I have been on the board since 1988, so we have served on I've served at various places in North Carolina NCHE organization. President twice. I've served a total of 8 years as president.
Okay.
And a variety of other, the regional director we called, and now we're called the regional liaisons. I was a regional liaison. And now I'm the law and policy director. I've been the law and policy director since 2012.
Okay.
And we were able to get our law changed to make it legal, clearly legal, to participate in a co-op or to have someone other than the parents be the primary instructors for core curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And right after we got our good law passed in 1988, the Attorney General, Rufus Edmondson, said, oh, well, that means parents have to be the primary instructor for all core curriculum. And which meant nobody else could do the instruction and make assignments and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided in 2013 it was time to get that law straightened out.
Right.
And so we were successful. We got a unanimous vote in both the House and the Senate, and it was signed into law in May of 2013.
Mm-hmm. Well, Spencer, I want to thank you for all that you've done for NCHE for many years. You've been on the board for a long time.
Yeah.
And set the foundation and pace for all we're doing, and especially in legislation.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yes.
Joining us now is Briggs Greenwood. So thank you for joining us. So tell us a little bit about who you are, how long you've been homeschooling or homeschooled, what you do on the board, and how long you've been doing it.
Okay. I have been a homeschool mom. I'm about to start my 21st year.
Wow.
So graduated 3 of my 4 sons, so that's exciting.
So you know a little bit about homeschooling?
Oh, just a little bit. And a couple of them say they're going to do it themselves, so I
Okay.
suppose it wasn't terrible. I've been part of actually been a volunteer since my second year of homeschooling.
Wow,
So
okay.
jumped right into that. And I've been part of the board both as a liaison and now as the marketing director for about 8 years.
Wow, okay.
Yep, it's my favorite thing to do.
And
besides
so what do you
teaching
do
my
as a
kids.
marketing director?
We, as a committee, are responsible for all of the ways that that NCHE puts themselves out there. My favorite way to do that is actually as the member relations
Okay.
person. That's not my official title, but it's what my passion is for doing here. So that my favorite thing is contact with members on a regular basis.
Nice, okay. So you kind of contact our members, let them know who we are and what we do and how we serve them. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
so you send that nice email
Yes.
every
yes.
month. That's
Yep,
awesome.
Yep. That's that little square at the bottom is me. So.
That's awesome. So just from that same heart of wanting to connect with our members, what kind of advice would you give, homeschooling advice to those who maybe have just started out or maybe are having a hard time, or just any advice you could give?
I think if people are still thinking about it, I love to tell the story about when I first was thinking. My next door neighbor was homeschooling, and I was at a mom's retreat, and my kid had a really hard year, and both she and my small group leader at the time said, it doesn't have to be this way. And that the very next Monday after this retreat, I went to my public school with a 6-week-old baby and a toddler and said, I'd like my 5th grader back, please.
Wow.
And we just never went back. So just to understand that if you're struggling and you're thinking about this, it does not have to be that way.
I love that.
And there are people who want to love you through that and support you through that and will have been where you are. So you're never alone.
That's awesome. Doesn't have to be that way. I love that. So thank you, Briggs, for sitting
thank
with
you.
us and for all that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, now for Homeschool Conversations, we have Diane Helfrich. Diane, glad to have you on the show.
Glad to be here.
So why don't you tell us what your role is with NCHE, how long you've served, and what you love about it.
Okay. Well, I am the development director, and that means that I'm the fundraiser.
All right.
So I try to make sure that we have money coming in beyond membership to help us do the things that we do, like the radio show, or like we're in the process of converting the website to Spanish.
Okay.
And hopefully that will be done soon, but we have some things that need extra money, and that's my job.
Right.
So I've been doing this for about 3 years. I've been on the board since 2014. In fact, you and I started the
That's
same
right.
year, and I started as a liaison, and then I added the secretary, and I was both a liaison and a secretary for several years. And then I just kind of had a notion put in my head that maybe I should do development, and I couldn't put it down. It was the one job I said I would never do. And when you couldn't put it down, then you kind of realize that maybe God is moving you to do something.
Right.
So I think over time what I've grown more passionate about is that we serve a cause. And the cause is the homeschooling across the state in terms of truly protecting, equipping, and connecting. And we do want people to homeschool with confidence and joy. I spend a lot of time on Facebook groups, and I see how many people are not doing that, and we've got answers. And so I'm passionate about the work that NCHE does, because we're there, we can help, we will help, and it's a
Right.
good work.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
And so one of the reasons we wanted to have you on here was for our homeschool tip of the week. So I think you came prepared to share something with us. What tip did you have for us today?
I did, and I'm going to talk about letting yourself out of the box.
All right.
When we started homeschooling many years ago, because my kids are older now, but we, like a lot of people, I had the public school image in my brain, and we got up and we started with a prayer and a pledge at 8:30 in the morning, and we sat down and we dutifully went through our subjects, and we hated it. And we felt like we were just getting through things. And over time, what happens, we started to get excited about some things, and we morphed into some topics that became all-consuming, like the vortex physics, that we started out to build a stink gun and to send bad smells out, and it turned into a science fair project that went on for 3 years and won the state science fair twice.
Oh, wow.
But it became all-consuming. Now, in upper elementary and middle school years, you don't find vortex physics in any of the textbooks or
Okay,
anything else.
right.
But the learning we did was profoundly deep and good because we were excited about it and we wanted to learn. And what I have found, again, I spent a lot of time on Facebook groups, and I see so many people, same place I was, trying to recreate that bricks and mortar school and try to meet all of those expectations that the public school has for your child, and I will fail if I don't do that. But the thing is, in homeschooling, that's not the goal. You're not trying to meet somebody's expectations. You're trying to create a love of learning in your child. And if your child loves to learn, they can learn anything that they have to learn. And so, you know, I would say our schooling wasn't perfect. There were things that we didn't do well. Math was one of those. But my kids both learned that when they needed it because they knew how to learn. But what we had was phenomenal excitement. I'd never read a lot of philosophy books. My daughter wanted to learn philosophy, so out we did. We read 10 full works, starting with Aristotle and going up through a modern theorist who is Hofstadter with I Am a Strange Loop. So we covered a lot of ground and we learned a lot of stuff. I came out of that myself knowing that the learning with your kids is fun. And that's one of the things that I think people are afraid. It's like, I won't know that. Of course you won't.
That's right.
You're gonna learn it.
Right.
And for me, that was a lot of the fun. And when you think about kids, you need to model for them what you want. So if I love learning and I'm excited about learning this along with you, they're going to learn that it's fun to learn and it's exciting to learn. And we learned well.
Yeah.
We learned well and we had fun. And you know that stink gun that we were going to build and the science project, my son now working on his PhD in economics, which is basically in math, has come back and said, you know, the work we did that really well. We were
neat.
spot on with what we were doing. And that's so cool because that just came out of nowhere. But in doing that, the passion for the learning developed. And so we really ended up not using much curricula. There's nothing wrong with people using curricula. I used some for math and I used some for science. The rest of it we kind of freewheeled. And that's okay because we were excited about what we learned. And a good friend of mine who happens to be on the board, Debbie Mason, says, everybody knows stuff, everybody doesn't know stuff. And so as long as you know how to learn this stuff, as long as you know how to go dig out this stuff, you will be fine. And that actually, if you're heading towards college, serves you far better because you're going to know how to do deep research. You're going to know how to do the writing. You're going to know how to interact with adults. When we were doing the vortex physics, we talked to some engineers to kind of get their take on how things worked and what we might want to do and how we needed to eliminate some variabilities and things. So we had to talk to a lot of people. And so that's
Huge
great training for
education.
life.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great training
Absolutely.
for life.
That's so
And so
exciting.
if I could encourage anybody, it's don't feel you need to be in that public school box. Let yourself out and your kids are going to have more fun and you're going to have more fun. And when it's about learning, you will school with confidence and joy because you know you're moving forward on some really cool things.
And you'll learn more in the end.
Well, and you will retain it because you're
That's
not
right, 'cause
learning
it's
for a
interesting.
test and then the test is over
That's
and poof, it's gone.
That's great. Well, I appreciate that tip. That's very exciting and empowering. While we have you here as the development director, let me ask you another question. Why should people support NCHE?
The supporting NCHE is about joining with us in the cause. We have a societal environment right now that is really topsy-turvy, and NCHE has been here since the very beginning. We wrote the law that you live with, which is really, when you look at across the states, we have one of the best states to homeschool. We have one of the easiest states to homeschool. And NCHE works hard on your behalf to protect that. But we also have all kinds of things like webinars and conference recordings and things to equip you with what you do. And we have the ability to connect. We have contacts throughout the whole state with groups to get you started. So we have the things that you need to homeschool. Partner with us in keeping North Carolina one of the best states to homeschool.
That's right.
NCHE is the only place that is really looking out for you from a legislative perspective. And we have stopped bills, we have written bills, we have worked with school systems on how certain things play out. We're there for you, we're protecting you, we're watching out for you. So partner with us in that.
And not only parents who can benefit and enjoy what we're doing to support parents, but there are grandparents
Excellent
who
point.
love to see what their grandkids are learning and how they're growing in homeschool. Grandparents, you want homeschooling to be free. You want your children to be equipped for homeschooling. And so when you support NCHE, you're supporting that process.
You are. Well, and one other little tidbit that you might not know, that NCHE, or not NCHE, but North Carolina is the largest per capita homeschool state in the nation outside of Alaska. And I don't count Alaska because all of their schools are under the school system. So they're fundamentally public school at home. Okay. And so North Carolina is one of the biggest and best states to homeschool.
That's right.
And that is in large part to NCHE since 1984.
That's right. Well, thanks for being on the show, Diane, and for sharing. And we're so glad you joined us this week on the Homeschool Show. We would love to hear from you. If you have questions or feedback, you can email us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. Of course, you can always go to our homepage, nche.com/thehomeschoolshow, and find out how to listen on your favorite podcast platform. What would be great is if you would follow and like and review, leave a great review of the show there so that other people can find it. And if it's been helpful to you, you can share it with your friends and your family and let them know about it. We look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be back in the studio, and until then, continue to homeschool with confidence and joy.